Okay, so I already talked about, plugging your phone in and all that. I'm gonna admit someone else real quick. Okay. So we're talking about overcoming depression here today, but I want you to also know that I'm talking about more than just depression. I'm talking about just mental health in general. And the reason why is because this information will be helpful to not only people suffering from depression, but people who have anxiety, low self-esteem, brain fog, anything that really can affect your mental health. This information can be helpful to you. And if even if you don't suffer from many things, if you just want more positivity in your life, this information can also be great for that as well. Okay, so most of you know who I am, but for those who don't, my name is Tanner. I'm a certified freedom from self-sabotage coach, a certified holistic lifestyle coach for the CHEK Institute. But really, what I want you to know is that helping others is a passion of mine, and is why I started my coaching business in the first place and why I'm hosting these seminars. So the first half of the seminar, you can expect me to be going over the many factors that affect our mental health from a health point of view, like overall health point of view. And the second half of the seminar, you can expect there to be us to learn about the brain and how societal pressures can affect our mental health. So mental health influences this is kind of like a breakdown of what you will be seeing on these next couple slides. We're looking at overall health, what we put into and onto our bodies has a direct effect on our mental health. So we're looking at nutrients and toxins and how they affect us, our daily routines, getting enough sleep, exercising, going out into nature. We'll look at negative thinking, and we'll also learn how we can understand the brain and how that functions so we can use that information to make more positivity going forward. We'll look at how societal pressures interact with us, the media we watch, listen to, and those things, the people we're surrounded by. Then we'll also at the very end look at moving into forward and positivity, actions we can take starting today, and certain techniques that I will teach you that will help you overcome some negativity. Now, one thing that's very important with this information, but I won't specifically be talking about here in the seminar, is how our past experiences affect our mental health. I think most people understand how something traumatic can really affect your mental health. But I'm not going to focus too much, but I do want to acknowledge that that is very important as well. Okay, so overall health. What we eat is very important to our mental health. So I'm sure most of us have heard you are what you eat, right? But why do we eat? We eat food for the nutrients and the energy it provides. Now, nutrients are compounds in food that are essential to life and health. And they provide us, with energy to help us regulate our chemical processes like melatonin, serotonin, dopamine, all of that. And they're the building blocks for repair and growth. So when we're building up new cells to heal ourselves, that is where we get those building blocks, the nutrients. We need those to build those cells. I want you to also consider that every 7 years, the time frame is debatable right now, but about every 7 years, we become essential to essentially new people in the way of our cells. So by that time, every cell that we had from 7 years ago would have been replaced by a new cell. So when we are lacking nutrients or we're adding a lot of toxins into our life, we're building those cells with subpar nutrients or toxins, and they can really hold us back in many aspects of our life. But I like to take what you are what you eat a little bit further to you are what you absorb. So many people don't think about this, but your skin, it's your largest organ of your body. And since it's porous, it absorbs whatever you put onto it. A study from the American Journal of Public Health looked into the skin's absorption rates of chemicals and found that in drinking water, it showed that the skin absorbed an average of 64% of the chemicals in the water. So I want you now to think about all the other chemicals that might be going onto your skin or your body, adding up and contributing to your, what I like to call your toxic load. So, from the moment you wake up, maybe you start brushing your teeth with a certain kind of toothpaste or putting deodorant on, put a perfume, the shampoo, all that stuff. really has an effect on you. And even when you're all the way to when your head hits the pillow at the night, what your sheets are cleaned with, what kind of deodorants you use, what kind of cleaning detergent you use, is all extremely important in understanding how that has an effect on your health in general. So then we go look at what you don't eliminate. So this is what I was talking about with those toxins and your toxic load. If you don't eliminate these toxins, they can overburden your body. Now, naturally, our body gets rid of these toxins through our liver and our kidneys, but when they're overburdened, it can actually hinder our brain's ability, our brain and our body's ability to function, which can contribute to mental health. And it's important to note that the whole body is actually connected. So when something affects your physical health, it's very likely going to affect your mental health too, because we're one giant working machine. And when one part is failing, the body is extraordinary and can usually adapt, but when it's also held back from low nutrients and high toxic load, it can have a very hard time actually doing the things it's meant to do, healing your body, helping you overcome emotional aspects throughout the day. Now, I do want to talk about organic food really quick because of one, there's two reasons. One, there's the nutrients that the organic food provides, and the amount of toxins that you can avoid by using organic food. But first, let's really look at what organic food is. Organic food is really just food. Back in the day, our ancestors, used to eat what we called organic food every single day. What has changed since then is what we are using to grow our food. Is the food being modified? Are we spraying it with chemicals like pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides? Because just like our skin, the food can absorb those chemicals, pesticides, and herbicides, and very well does absorb that food. So when you're eating that food, you're actually eating those chemicals, pesticides, and herbicides. And I don't know if you've ever seen someone spraying down the fields with those, but they have a whole huge mask on. They're covered from head to toe in a protective coating, so that way they don't get any on their body, because it's very dangerous. And you might have also heard of a chemical called glyphosate or Roundup. It's been very apparent in the news and things like that lately. It's been linked to cancers and all sorts of things, but that is just one pesticide or herbicide or fungicide that is an example, but there's many, many that get sprayed on our foods. And the part that people don't necessarily talk about with organic foods, which I think is very important, is it has more nutrients. So there was a study done where they took organic lettuce head and a non-organic lettuce head, and they tested the nutrients in them. They found that you'd have to have 10 non-organic lettuce heads to get the same amount of nutrients as one organic lettuce head. And remember, that's the main reason why we're eating this food in the first place, right? To get that nutrients. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. So foods that support mental health. Now that we know we need to do organic and how important food is to our mental health and our overall health, what foods can we eat that specifically promote our mental health? Well, any diet that has that's high in omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants is very helpful to our body. The main reason why omega-3 fatty acids are so important is because they're considered the main building blocks for the brain. So essentially, the brain is made up of 60% fat. So if you don't have those omega-3 fatty acids, your brain can't protect itself and build itself up the same way it could. And the main way the brain protects itself is with what's called the blood-brain barrier. And I'll be talking more about that in just a moment. But these are the top brain boosting foods. Blueberries, walnuts, dark chocolate. Of course, you want to look at where you're getting your dark chocolate from and what's on the ingredients list. Because there's a lot of additives usually to chocolates, and it's not actually just straight dark chocolate. It is with a bunch of sugars and preservatives and things like that. Wild salmon. This is very important that you look for wild salmon, not just normal salmon, because factory farm salmon is usually fed all kinds of toxic things like plastic pellets, sawdust, and things like that, which you do not want to be eating. Remember, you are what you eat. And if you don't like fish, like some people, I personally don't like fish a ton, you can look at getting some fish oil pills. Those can be very helpful. Okay, then we got avocado, turmeric, broccoli, eggs, green leafy vegetables. Unfortunately, iceberg lettuce is not going to be very nutrient rich. So I would avoid that if you're trying to get real nice. Maybe do some good romaine, some green lettuce, some red lettuce, those sorts of things. Coconut oil. And this is last one's not necessarily a food, but filtered water. Water is extremely important as our brain and our body is made up of tons of water. They said the brain is about 73% water. A good amount to drink is aim for about half your body weight in ounces of water. But also I want you to notice how I wrote filtered water because the majority of our water supply is contaminated, with things like lead, chlorine, fluoride, and other things like that. If you want to know what's in your water supply, at least what chemicals they add, like chlorine or fluoride, you can just do a quick Google search of the town you were at. So for instance, in Parker, Colorado, when I used to live there, they do not add fluoride, but they add chlorine. Now that we moved here to Tennessee and Knoxville, I realized they add fluoride to the water. So I had to do an extra step to get the fluoride out. So toxins, I mentioned toxins a bit before, and I could probably do a whole seminar about toxins and how they influence our just overall health and our mental health. But what you want to know is that toxins create inflammation in the body and our brain. And if that inflammation lasts for too long, the brain can be impaired and your cognitive function can decline. And many of these toxins I've picked out here have a direct impact on mental health specifically. So the heavy metals, of course, there's more than 3 heavy metals that I have listed here, but these 3, the reason why I chose them, they're directly implicated with mental health. So things like depression, anxiety, and things like that. So aluminum is very common today. It's in some deodorants. If you have it in your deodorant, I would avoid that, get a new deodorant. Aluminum foil, I would avoid cooking with aluminum foil and avoid just aluminum foil as much as possible. Canned goods, sodas, beans, all those things, kitchen utensils, go for stainless steel if you can, it's the best. Vaccines, there is aluminum in vaccines. Lead, so lead is very prominent as well. Often we find it in old pipes, old piping that you get your water supply from. So it's often in your drinking water. It's in paints, ceramics, batteries, these are like household appliances. And it's actually in cosmetics too. So like makeups and things like that. Mercury, I think most people know how dangerous mercury can be. It was in old thermometers and they started taking out the thermometers. The problem is it's still in a lot of other things. A lot of fish, I was talking about before, looking for the right source of fish. Be careful where you get your fish from. It can be high in mercury. Vaccines, there is thiomersal, which is essentially a mercury-based preservative. That's approximately 50% mercury by weight, so look out for that. Air pollution, fluorescent lamps. If you have any lamps, fluorescent lamps you're taking out of your home, make sure you don't break them. Be very careful with discarding them. And rice can also contain mercury in it. Now let's look at mold and fungus. I know I've been directly affected by mold and fungus, and my wife Maddie has. I think many of us are affected with mold and funguses, and we don't necessarily understand or realize that we are getting negatively affected by mold and fungus and that they're inside our bodies. So molds and funguses can produce a variety of neuropsychological issues, which essentially lead to brain fog, depression, anxiety, those sorts of things. Now, often depression and other mental health issues are a sign that from our bodies that something needs to change in our life so that we can become healthier. Like if we're not getting the right nutrients, a way your body might let you know is by sending depression or sending real bad hunger pains, even after you eat a big meal because your body did not get those nutrients they should have. Now, of course, these can be found pretty much everywhere. Mold and funguses, very common places you see them are in wet, damp areas. So usually in the showers, in the corners, in the grouts, or the caulking, you'll find like some black mold growing, but doesn't necessarily have to be black mold. For instance, in our home, me and my wife had a problem where there was a leak in our roof that we were renting, and I'm pretty sure that that leak was causing some mold or some fungus. We got that dealt with now, but that can affect you without you even realizing it. Drugs and chemicals. So alcohol, this is a very common um, drug to be using to, often it's used to avoid problems. Usually people are drinking when they are depressed, which is a very bad idea because it is a depressant in itself. And usually they don't ever fix or address that problem. They just get drunk and then the next day they're not feeling as good and that pain is still there from the problem that they were facing. Caffeine, this is the most widely used drug in the world. There's a lot of controversy whether it's good or bad for you. What I want you to know is that it inhibits sleep, which is very important to your mental health. It gives what I like to call fake energy. And when we are low on energy, often we can feel depressed, anxiety. So it sends your body into a flight response. It drains all the blood out of your arms, or sorry, out of your body and out of your brain. And actually, there's been studies done that show that it reduces the amount of blood in your brain by about 50%. And it goes all to your arms and legs, so you can fight or flight. So you can run away or fight something if you need to. Now this goes back to when like a tiger was chasing you back in the day. Obviously it doesn't make much sense for caffeine, but the reason why it does that is because it is actually a toxin to your body and it treats it like that way. So it goes into fight or flight response to try to stimulate your body to get rid of it as quick as possible. And as you can imagine, that would cause some stress on your body. Prescription drugs, with Western society, there's a slew of prescription drugs, and often they have a list of side effects, like 10 plus side effects. And some of these actually alter your brain chemistry and can lead to depression and anxiety and things like that. So if you are suffering from that, any mental health issue, it's important to look at your prescription drugs and see if they might be the cause of that. Chemical additives, this is mostly what I was talking about with organic food. These chemical additives provide a dopamine fix. Often they're sugary foods like donuts, sodas, and things like that, which can make you addicted to them. And the problem with getting all this dopamine fix from the food is that later on, when you should be getting a dopamine fix for something for feeling good, it won't feel as amazing because you're so hopped up on dopamine fixes all the time that just doesn't feel as good. Things start to not seem as amazing as they did before when you just have dopamine in your system all the time. So they're often found in non-organic foods. Like I said, read your labels. If you don't understand what something is, look it up before you buy it. Fluoride. I could almost do a whole page on fluoride. It's usually found in your toothpaste and water. So what I want you to think about is fluoride is a neurotoxin. So essentially it is very damaging to the brain. It wreaks havoc on the brain once it passes the blood-brain barrier, which is your brain's main defense. So if you're eating those foods, if you're avoiding those foods and you're not getting those foods that build your brain up, then often your blood-brain barrier will be diminished and your brain will be open to all these toxins and things coming into them. Now, where the fluoride really affects you for mental health is it accumulates in the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is like a little acorn-looking part of your brain that sits right here, like right in the middle of your forehead. And what happens when the fluoride gets access to it, it starts to calcify it over. And which can prevent it from producing melatonin and serotonin. This is what the pineal gland is partially there for. It's produce that melatonin and serotonin. And if you don't know what melatonin and serotonin are, they're essentially your sleep and wake up cycles. Serotonin is also known for boosting your good mood and helping you feel alert and just ready to take on the day. Also, I want to mention that fluoride can lead to hypothyroidism. So many people are having a problem with their thyroids and having thyroid issues. Essentially what happens is the fluoride combines with iodine receptors and prevents your body from producing new iodine, which is a necessary nutrient that can really help protect you and detox you from things like heavy metals and things like that. So without the iodine, your body is defenseless against some of these things. Now, it's important to know how all these toxins interact because our bodies are made of chemicals and they have chemical processes to make us happy, to make us awake, to make us tired. So when we add new chemicals in there, we need to understand what these chemicals are doing to our body and how they're interacting. So I have one example of this, which is aluminum fluoride. But before we look into aluminum fluoride, I want you to think back to science class. And imagine you were in science class and you were supposed to be mixing, a couple chemicals together. Remember how important it was you did not mix the wrong chemicals together because you would make, some kind of chemical reaction. Maybe the stuff would overflow, or maybe there would be an explosion or some kind of dangerous chemical reaction. Well, our bodies are the exact same, but there's thousands and hundreds of chemicals being flooded into them from all the products and foods we're using. So for example, the aluminum fluoride, when aluminum mixes with fluoride, it hitches a ride into the brain as aluminum fluoride and just bypasses the blood-brain barrier. So even if your blood-brain barrier, which is your main brain's protection against these chemicals, even if that is going fully 100%, if these two chemicals mix, it can bypass it. And the presence of aluminum fluoride has been linked to Alzheimer's and other things like that. So it affects the brain definitely. Now, as far as toxins, I wanted to mention detoxing because I know many people probably be thinking about that. Your body can naturally detox most of these toxins just by removing the toxic products from your life. The problem is that we keep adding in all these toxins into our life, and they can compound and overload our livers and kidneys. So if you're going to be looking at detoxing with a product, be very careful because all these toxins flooding your system at once can have very serious implications, and you could end up in the hospital from detoxing too quickly. So sleep is very important. I mentioned this a little bit before, but what sleep does is it facilitates the brain's processing of emotional information. So anything that's negative, anything that's very traumatic, any experiences we've had, when we're sleeping, our brain, more specifically our subconscious mind, the part of our brain that's never sleeping is always working, is processing that information and trying to make sense of what happened and trying to help you overcome. And really, if you're not able to get good sleep, it can lead to more mental health issues, as I'll be talking in just a moment. So our bodies heal physically and mentally while we sleep, like I've talked about. And really something important that many people, I think, realize is dream facilitates new ideas and solutions. So many great inventors and things like that have gotten their ideas for inventions while they were sleeping. And, it might be the exact idea or solution you need to get over what you are experiencing, or to find a new job, or to really just, maybe get that promotion at work, and which can make you happier and help with your mental health. So some tips to ensure a good night's sleep: be in bed by 10 p.m., wake up by at least 8 a.m. Our bodies are normally set to go and fall asleep with the sun, and our melatonin and serotonin production should be based off that as well. I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a second. Remove digital devices from the room and avoid any lights in the room. These kind of work together, but if you have your phone on and it's 3 in the morning and you get a text message and you look at your phone, that bright light will send to your brain saying, hey, we got some bright light here. Maybe it's daytime. Let's maybe start producing some serotonin, and that might keep you awake. Avoid caffeine. If you have to have caffeine, if you're just like, no way I'm dealing with my caffeine, avoid any caffeine after noon. So anytime after 12 p.m., do not drink any caffeine. It'll be very helpful to your sleep. And work out in the morning. They did a study where they looked at, how people sleep based on when they worked out. They had 3 different groups. One group worked out early in the morning, one worked out in the middle of the day, and one worked out at the nighttime. People who worked out in the morning got the best sleep. So of course, now we're going to be talking about exercise. There's a brain expert I've done a couple courses with. His name is Jim Kwik. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him, but it's a really good quote: as our bodies move, our brain grooves. And I like to think of that as, as we're moving, as we're getting our exercise, our brains are very happy because they're almost getting the same exercise as well. So how does it really benefit it? Well, it improves mental health by reducing anxiety, depression, and negative mood. But what happens is the lymph fluids start to circulate through the body, which removes toxins and other harmful materials. Essentially, in layman's terms, when you exercise, you naturally take in more oxygen. And to make room for the added oxygen, your cells start to kick out toxins that are taking up the space. And we all know from my previous talk about toxins how much they can affect our mental health. So I also want to mention over-exercising, because often when people get into exercising, it can be very abusive, and which is very natural to do, and it's not necessarily their fault. They're not necessarily saying I want to abuse myself. But what happens is that negative effect on the body causes stress, and the more stress you have in the body, the more your mental health can suffer. So if you want to start and you haven't really been working out much, something simple you can do is just when you go to the grocery store, park at the end of the grocery or the parking lot and walk all the way in. And keep doing that for a while until you start to feel more comfortable with walking. And then start walking around your neighborhood, start doing push-ups, sit-ups, those kind of body weight movements. A lot of people believe they have to go to the gym to work out. You can get most of your workout done in probably 10 minutes at home with no extra equipment, just your body. So nature's influence, going outside is extremely important. I'm sure many of you heard about, going out into nature can reduce your stress levels. But really, when we talk about sunlight and how that affects our mental health, we have a direct link between sunlight and the amount of serotonin we have in our brain. So as I talked about before, serotonin is helpful for boosting mood, helping a person feel calm and focused, that alert, wake feeling. What you can do to increase the amount of sunlight you have in your life is avoid sunglasses if possible. If you're driving, it's dangerous, of course, put sunglasses on. But the reason why sunglasses are bad is because they can send mixed messages to our mind, and in some cases can cause our pineal gland to stop producing serotonin. And they also prevent the sunlight from entering into your eyes, which is the same reason why sunscreen can also be bad, because it literally blocks your skin, and your skin doesn't absorb as much vitamin D, and which is a very important nutrient for your body to have. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about grounding and earthing. Some of you may have heard about this. Essentially, the idea behind it is that Earth has a electromagnetic field, and humans also have a bioelectric magnetic field. So when we ground, essentially standing on the ground with bare feet, sitting on the ground, things like that. Some things that our ancestors used to do every single day. Now we're all stuck indoors wearing rubber shoes, so we don't get the same grounding effects. So all you have to really do is just go outside, stand in the ground, in the barefoot in the grass for maybe 10 minutes, maybe sit on the ground, lay there in the grass, look in the sky. You'll get, reduced pain, stress, improvement in sleep. A couple of studies have shown that this will help. Now, this is one of my favorite parts to talk about, really to understand how society affects us. We must first understand how our brain, must understand our brain and how it functions. So I want you to think of the conscious mind. This is the part of the mind that you're using right now to listen to me and to determine if what I'm saying is bullshit or truthful. Essentially, what I like to think of the conscious mind as is a guardian of the gate. So imagine a giant gate to a castle. Behind it, there's a bunch of people who are need protection, who are easily influenced. Your conscious mind is the giant guardian in front of it. So any looters, any thieves, any rapists, anything like that, your job is not to let them in. So similar with the mind, anything that is negative, any negative movies, TV shows, songs, when someone says, you don't look very well today, or you're, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Those sort of things, those can have a direct impact on our subconscious mind. And as we'll learn about soon with the subconscious mind is that it's defenseless against these suggestions and manipulation unless you're protecting it with your conscious mind. So the subconscious mind. This part of the mind, not many people know about. And I think that's a real shame because it's such a powerful part of our mind, and it can really have a big effect on our health and our mental health. So it's the most powerful part of your brain. It holds 90% of the total brain power. Remember how I told you before, it's always working and always listening? It's 24/7, nonstop. So when you are sleeping, when your conscious mind is asleep, that's when your subconscious mind takes over. So often that's why the dreams, people learn things from the dreams and can take those to make inventions and things like that, because your subconscious mind is working on all the information it's been seeing that day or that week or whatever. It is a storehouse of memory, so everything it's hearing, it is picking up on. Now, I want you to realize how much more powerful it is in the conscious mind. So the conscious mind processes 140 pieces of information a second, which seems like a lot until you realize the subconscious mind processes 11 million pieces of information per second. So really what that means is when you are focused on, let's say, reading a book and your significant other is watching a TV show in the background, you may not be listening to that TV show at all, right? But your subconscious mind is picking up on all the hints, all the things inside that TV show to learn what might be safe for it to play, safe for it to do within society, how it can really help you fit in, because that's its main goal, is safety. As you can tell, it seeks the familiar, which is really usually what is safe. And that's a great aspect for it to have when we are children, because it's like a great protector. It's almost flipped from what I told you on the last slide. When we're children, our conscious minds are not the great protector. We are often the ones who need protection. We want to be able to fit into society so we don't get made fun of. We just want to survive until we're old enough to be able to take care of ourselves. Now, the problem is when we become adults, our subconscious minds are still trying to protect us the same way as we're kids. And often what is considered safe when we're kids can lead us to being unhappy, broke, lead us to struggle, and just depressed overall. So, and the way it keeps us with the familiar is it can influence our daily actions and thoughts. And often when it does this, it does it in very odd ways. Ways like, so let's say if you're dreading work and you really just do not want to go to work, like the thought of it just makes your stomach turn. And then all of a sudden you start throwing up and you're violently ill. Well, the body or the subconscious mind controls all bodily systems. So yes? Oh, sorry. Okay, so sorry about that. I got a little distracted with the reverberation there. So if you are dreading work, you may get violently sick, and it's not out of nowhere that this happens. Your subconscious mind is saying, oh, you don't want to go to work. Well, I have control over all your bodily systems. Let's keep Tanner safe and make him sick so he doesn't have to go to work. Now, like I said before, that's why I consider pain and depression are often the brain's way and body's way of saying something needs to change. It is like its way of saying, hey, this is not working. You're like, what you're eating is not working in your life. This is how you should know. You're not feeling well anymore. You're not happy anymore. You need to change some things to become happier, healthier overall. So there's a couple ways we also need to talk about how the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between fiction and reality. So there was a study done with woman knitting, and essentially there was two groups. One was woman knitting and one was woman watching the woman knitting. And they had equipment hooked up to their brains so they could scan and see how the brain lit up while they were knitting. So first they did the people who are knitting, and they saw their brain lit up in a special way, right? What they found that was very interesting was the people who were watching the woman knitting, their brain lit up in the exact same way as if they were knitting themselves. So when we are watching a TV show and things get very intense and you feel, your heart start to race and you start to get goosebumps on yourself, there's a reason for that, because your brain can't tell the difference between what's on the television and what's real life. And something that goes along with that is it takes everything literally. So if you are telling yourself that you're going to be fat forever, your body will take that literally and take it as a command and try to make it so you will stay larger or obese. How does that affect your mental health? Well, you know, many of us have negative thoughts come into our mind, and I'll be talking more about how we can overcome those negative thoughts. But essentially, when we are saying negative things to us, that is like a command to our subconscious mind. And many of us don't understand how we speak to our subconscious mind because your subconscious mind has very specific ways it communicates. For instance, it cannot interpret negatives. So I want you to try to not picture this. Try not to picture a purple elephant balancing on 1 foot on a lime green rug. If you're like the majority of the people, you cannot just pick it out of your head. Your brain is now thinking about that purple elephant balancing on the lime green rug, right? So when you tell yourself, I am not fat, your brain does not hear that not part. It just cannot process what that really means. So the way you speak to yourself, the way you say your affirmations are very, very important. And it understands commands in the present tense only. So if you say, in the future, I'm going to be healthy. In the future, I'm going to be happy. Well, your subconscious mind is saying, well, that's the future. The future is always in the future tense. Tomorrow never comes because tomorrow is always a day away, right? And then your subconscious is drawn to emotions and symbols. So this is why, another reason why the TV is such a powerful influence on our subconscious mind, because the TV uses visualization and emotions, and often many of us will feel those emotions as we watch. Our brains will light up as if the same thing's happening in real life. So really, now that we understand the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, we need to look at how societal pressures and their affect us and what their impact is on mental health. So often we mimic our surroundings so that we fit into society. There's a quote that some people say is, who you spend your time with is who you become. And I've noticed this with my friends, very simple things like maybe like certain things that they'll say, I might start picking up on, or if like, or I noticed this with me and my wife, if I'm like singing a song and I got stuck in my head, it'll get easily stuck in her head as well. That's just the way the mind works. We want to mimic our surroundings, our tribe, so we fit in better. So if all your friends around you are negative, it's much more likely that you will be negative or pulled down to the negativity, especially if it's familiar to you. The good news is that you can pull people up to the positive. So I'm not saying necessarily get rid of all your friends. It might be a solution in your case, for your specific case, but for everyone, that's not a solution because it's hard for them to make friends, or they don't know how they're going to make other friends. So what you need to do is realize that you can get pulled back to the negative if you're trying to be positive. If you see your friend as being very negative and have a very negative influence on you, maybe you need to put a little bit of space in between you. You can pull them back to the positivity, but it's going to be much harder for them to come to the positivity just because it's not as familiar for them. So the subconscious mind is going to resist it until it becomes familiar enough. Just keep bringing that positivity to your loved ones, to your family, and it will start to rub off on them. And real quick, the people around us, it's very important we understand how they influence us. So the subconscious mind sees things as, what is safe is, what is familiar is safe. And that's why I put this Uno card here, the safe card. This is like the card that, when you have like a huge Uno deck and you're worried about getting it, you play this card and you have no worries because no one's going to attack you. You're going to be free from anything. You'll play the card and you'll be good to go. But really, what is a safe card in our subconscious mind? What can make something safe? Well, the more it is repeated, so the more familiar it is to you. If an authority figure says it, so a teacher, a parent, a coach, pastors, government officials, news reporters, anything like that. So when a parent says something to you that may be negative, if they don't recognize this is what they're doing, it can have a very deep impact on your subconscious mind because they'll consider that safe. So if they say to you, you'll never amount to anything, you'll always be obese, that's just the way your body is, you'll never be able to overcome it. You may believe that, and that will become what's normal and safe to you, that obesity. So when you try to break free from that, your body will do everything to get you back there. Now, I got a very great video to share with you guys that will kind of explain and show how easy it is for us to mimic society. And I'm sure many people have heard of, peer pressure, and this is exactly why peer pressure works. Okay. All right, so if the sound of this is a little too loud, please let me know, and I can always restart it and change the sound.
On the deck of the USS Intrepid conducting an experiment, and the rules of the game couldn't be simpler.
You've got to decide which one of these 3 straight lines is the same length as this first card.
Take a look for yourself. Think you've got it? Before we reveal the answer, we'll show you where these people stand.
I think it's A.
A.
A. It's A.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with A.
It looks like everyone is going with A.
Definitely A.
Do they know something you don't?
What do you think?
Take one last look. Are you going with these people who all picked A? Or did you choose to go with B or C? Time's up. Got your pick?
It's A.
You're gonna go with the group.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Is that what you picked? Or did you go with another answer? It turns out the answer to this round is C. And while you likely chose C first and stuck with your answer, we also know that some viewers might have felt the peer pressure and switched to A.
It's A.
I want to ask you something. Did your gut at first tell you that the answer was actually C?
Yeah, but everyone was choosing A, so I just felt like I had to pick A too.
You felt the pull of the crowd.
Yeah.
In case you haven't figured it out yet, we'll let you in on a little secret. The first 9 people in this line were working for us, and each time we ran the experiment, they were instructed to pick the same wrong answer.
A.
A.
A. It's A.
Seeing all these people choose A left the last person in line who wasn't in on it with a tough decision: to go with their gut or with a group.
You're gonna go with the group.
Yeah.
Although not all of the test subjects at the end of the line fell for it.
I think it's C.
In spite of what everybody else thinks. You don't trust the wisdom of the crowd?
I'm trusting my gut.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, I think C looks closest.
And you think that they're all wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
And don't beat yourself up if you were tempted to go along with the crowd.
Make your choice.
I'm gonna have to go with A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. What happened?
I have a confession.
Okay.
I actually thought it was C. So
Did you start to question your own judgment?
I did. I don't want to be the dumb kid. I don't want to stand out. I was like, A.
Have you ever ignored the truth to fit in with a group? Just think, what if those weren't lines, but evidence in a murder case? Would you be able to see past the group consensus and just go with your gut?
Studies show that when someone holds a different opinion than the rest of the group, the anterior cingulate cortex, also known as the oops area of the brain, produces an error signal. We try to fix that by modifying our opinion to be in line with the group, even if it's a viewpoint we're uncomfortable with or know is wrong. And that's because there's some major evolutionary advantages for those who follow along with the group, namely survival. If you want to stay safe, stay with the herd.
So as you can tell, we can be influenced very easily to choose something that we know is not true. This is the same reason why at clubs, they will intentionally not let people into the club so that their line is longer. So when someone sees a club with a long line, they're drawn to that club because they're like, oh, everyone's at this club, we got to go there. Or when you see a long line at Starbucks, you're much more likely to go to Starbucks because of the way your brain works. Now, I want to take a little step further and give you guys some examples of how TV and movies specifically can affect us. So if you guys heard of the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, it has Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie. Essentially, the idea behind the movie is, there's Nicolas Cage, the main actor. He has to steal so many cars in so long. And when he does this, he gets Angelina Jolie, he gets all the good things. He gets Angelina Jolie, he gets all the cars. He looks really cool while he does it. Well, our brains see that and recognize, ooh, maybe, stealing cars or really fast cars are a really cool thing. I can get a girl myself. Well, there was in Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada, after this movie was released specifically, they saw a 50% increase in car theft the week after. Similarly, there's a TV show that recently came out called Queen's Gambit. It's about chess. So after that TV show came out, inquiries for chess sets went up by 250% on eBay. Google search for how to play chess hit an all-time high for 9 years. The novel The Queen's Gambit, which is about chess, is now a New York Times bestseller 37 years after its release. And the number of new players on chess.com has increased by 5 times. So I think you understand where I'm going here, is that what we watch and the people around us have a direct influence on actions we take, whether we are thinking positively, negatively. And I think it's fair to note that a lot of the TV shows, movies, and memes and things like that are going on in society are very negative. They show maybe someone's life is going very good, then also something terrible happens. But we never see a TV show where someone's just having an amazing life. And obviously that might be a pretty boring show, but for the reason of our subconscious mind, it would be very helpful for our subconscious mind to see that. All right. So how can we use our brain moving forward? Now that we have learned about what foods to eat, what kind of things to avoid, how our brain functions, where can we go from here? So affirmations, positive thoughts, and mantras. Make sure they're positive in the present tense. Remember how the subconscious mind works. Use imagination and envision what you want. Remember, the subconscious mind is drawn to emotions and symbols. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Make it more and more familiar to yourself. Now, often I've gotten questions where people are saying, I feel like I'm lying to myself when I'm saying these things. And now this is the subconscious's mind's way of trying to keep you safe. And one of the weird, it's one of the weird ways it communicates with us. As soon as you say those things, it's like, whoa, no, you're not part of that tribe. You're not part of the healthy tribe. You're not healthy. You're lying to yourself right now. We are part of the obese tribe. We got to stay here. We're part of the depressed tribe. And ways to get around this. One, you could record them. This is something I really like to do. You can easily say your affirmations on your phone and then record it. And some of the best times to play it are when you're distracted. If you're driving, don't even focus on the affirmations, just focus on driving. And that's the best thing, is that when your conscious mind is not focusing on it, your subconscious mind is pulling it in even more at that point. Do it while you're sleeping. Then you don't have any of that subconscious mind interfering with your conscious mind. It's just your subconscious mind getting information while you're sleeping. That's actually one of the best times to reprogram your subconscious mind. And what you can do is start with one word affirmations. So just think of the word health or happiness, and really try to envision how that makes you feel. Feel the good feeling inside, feel it rising up inside your chest. Use your imagination, pretend you're a child again. You have a great imagination still. It's just the problem is we don't use our imagination daily, but we all have that imagination. We all have that acting capability to do exactly this. We can create a vision board. So, we're drawn to images and things like that. So I'm sure many people have heard about vision board. Essentially, it's just a bunch of images of things that you want in your life or that you want to achieve or go towards. Surround yourself with positivity and begin to recognize and distance yourself from negative influences and thoughts. I want you to know that it can be hard, especially at first, especially with the subconscious mind, how it's drawn to the familiar, remember? So you will encounter resistance. So do not beat yourself up if you find yourself thinking negatively. Forgive yourself then just focus on the negative. You know, be consistent. Celebrate the small victories. If you're able to be positive for a whole day, that's amazing. Or even just for 10 minutes, that's amazing. And you should celebrate that. And that'll make you much more likely to continue forward with the positivity. Now, I got some really great techniques I'm going to be teaching you in just a moment that use the subconscious mind and vision. Ones that I actually just learned recently from a really good book of mine that talks about how the subconscious mind is more like a genie who can help you give you what you want in life. So let's look at the first technique. It's called the delete technique. Me and my wife had a lot of fun with this one. So let's say someone looks at you and says, "You don't look so well," or "Have you gained or lost weight?" Immediately, I want you to delete it. Picture the word delete in your head. Then you can take this a step further. Picture yourself at your computer desk. See the negative statements on the computer monitor. I want you to highlight that statement and then press the delete button. Now feel that freedom coursing through you. You're not held down from that negative comment anymore. You are free. You can even take it a step further and visualize yourself typing something positive afterwards to replace the negative. I actually really enjoyed doing that as well. The substitution technique. So this technique is somewhat similar, but it's a bit different. So when we can only think about one thing at a time with our conscious mind. So when a negative thought, emotion, or situation comes up, you need to substitute it with something positive. You can try picturing a positive one-word affirmation, like I was talking before, you know, health, wealth, success, love. You can even picture a symbol of what health means to you, like this dollar sign of what wealth means to you. You know, you can do a happy face. Envision a pleasant scene. You know, for example, maybe a place you had an amazing time, that vacation that you loved. You could sing or listen to a happy song. So when you're singing and listening to a happy song, you know, often when people are sad, they'll listen to sad songs, and that's the complete wrong thing to do. You want to listen to something happy to get your mind on a new track on positivity instead. Send love to someone in a special group. You know, even if you're not feeling like you're able to give yourself love at that time, send love out to someone else. Send love out to your loved ones. You know, if you're religious, you can see this as a prayer, but just send that love out into the world, put your intentions out there. Love, you know, your subconscious mind will start being drawn more to positivity as you keep practicing these things. Will become easier and easier and easier. Or you can just chant a positive phrase. You know, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy. Don't let go of it. Remember, it is up to you and your conscious mind to protect your subconscious mind. You're that guardian, you're the keeper of the gate, protecting your subconscious mind, who is very easily influenced. So last couple thoughts here. I have a new self-sabotage seminar, which is going to be much more in depth than the last seminar. We will dive deeper into the subconscious mind. This one will cost money. It's $125 until April 30th. Price increases on May 1st. You can sign up for a personalized coaching session with me. You know, free 30 minutes. We can do a free strategy call where we can talk about what the sessions might look like and how they can help you. And we can see if we'll be a good fit or not. You can follow me so you can see any of my content. Remember, the more positivity you get in your life, the better. So when you go on Facebook, the more positive things you see, the better for you and your subconscious mind. Invite and share this information with as many people as possible. The more people around you that know this information, the more that you will be influenced to take that positivity as well. So from here, do you guys have any questions about what we have learned about, you know, health, toxins, conscious, the subconscious mind, how society influences us? No? No questions?
Hi, Tanner. This is Kevin.
Hey,
I
Kevin.
do have a question about, you were talking earlier about different foods that help improve brain function and so forth. for those of us who don't eat as healthy as we likely should, what do you think about vitamin supplements or supplements in general to to counteract that or add to some of those foods that you list?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So supplements can be very helpful. You do want to be careful. A lot of the vitamins they have out on the market are actually made in a lab. And the problem with that is your body is not able to absorb those vitamins that were created in a lab the same way they can absorb it into food. So there is some supplements that I take, even though I do eat healthier. One is spirulina. You can also, maybe you've heard of chlorella as well. That is a deep sea algae, and it has a whole load of nutrients. It's kind of like a multivitamin. You can take fish oil pills. Those are very helpful for your brain and the overall brain function. I take kelp, and make sure for all of these, especially for the fish oil and the kelp, make sure you look at where those sources are coming from in the ocean, since the ocean is very polluted and may contain toxins in them. But I take kelp as well because kelp has very high iodine in it. And as we know, iodine helps prevent us and protect us from heavy metals and things like that, and help boost our brain function. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else got some questions here? Or anyone else?
Hey Tanner, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So there's a question in the chat. It's asking, in lieu of sunglasses and sunscreen, what do you recommend? I feel like skin cancer is a big concern for a lot of people.
Yes, thank you. I didn't see that with my share screen. I didn't have that showing. Thank you, Maddie. So yes, a lot of people are worried about skin cancer. Now, there are very helpful sunscreens that are actually healthy, natural products. If you are having trouble finding which ones are healthy, you can always reach out to me. I have already done that research, so I can always send it your way to show you some healthier products that don't have as much toxins in them. Because yes, like me and my wife Maddie both do use sunscreen if we're gonna be out in the sun for the whole day, and we're expecting to get sunburnt because you do have to worry about being sunburnt. As far as sunglasses, I don't say avoid them altogether. Like if you need them while you're driving, or if your eyes really do hurt when the sun is on you, wear those sunglasses. But if you're able to, the more sun you can bring in through your eyes, the better, because they'll be very helpful. Like you don't have to look at the sun to get the benefits. The sun rays are all around you, and your eyes pull that in from all around you. So really, there is just a healthier version of sunscreen that you can use. And also I want to mention something about some of the mainstream sunscreens, is actually a lot of them have been shown to cause skin cancer with the chemicals and ingredients that are inside of them. So I would watch out for which sunscreens you are buying. Thank you for that question.
I also want to add there too, a ball cap is a great option too. We will often wear those in lieu of sunglasses, and that seems to really help as well.
Yeah, thank you, Maddie. That's a good one as well.
And then there's one more question as well. How much sun and outside time do you recommend and need?
Yes, well, so usually you want at least 10 to 15 minutes of outdoor sun time. Usually you can tell when you look at your skin, if it's starting to turn slightly pink, it's usually a good idea either to put on a jacket, cover up your arms, or maybe start to look at putting on some sunscreen. You'll find as you start to get outside longer and longer, your skin will be able to handle more and more sun, as that's the way it's designed. And the real reason why sunscreen is so important nowadays is because some people don't get outside. They don't get that sunshine that we're needing, that our ancestors had every single day, every single day they were outside hunting, gathering, and doing things like that. But now most of the time we spend our time indoors, so we're all pasty white. you know, me too, like my thighs are straight pasty white. So if I went out in the sun with nothing covering my thighs, I'd be very likely to burn them. So it depends on what part of your body and how often you get out in the sun. But I say a pretty good amount to start with is 10 to 15 minutes. And the good thing is that you can go outside and ground yourself if you want to do that while getting that sunshine and getting that fresh air. And just go out and barefoot in the grass and enjoy yourself and enjoy nature. Maybe practice your positivity, your affirmations outside in the sun as well. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I'm not hearing any more questions. If you guys do think of any more questions, I want you to feel free to contact me, whether it be through Facebook, through email, any way. I'd be glad to answer them for you. And I'd be really glad to hear from you how you thought this information or how you thought this seminar was, if it was good information for you, if you'd like to see more of something, less of something. Any critique would be helpful. I always love hearing people's opinions of how things are. So if that's all, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everyone for coming. Remember, you are the protector of your subconscious mind. You are the great guardian. It's your job to protect yourself from these negativities, and you can do it. There's very good techniques, and you can build your mental health one step at a time. Don't get mad at yourself. Celebrate the small victories and be consistent. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tanner.
Thanks,
Oh.
Dan.